Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not already heard of this, allow me to ruin your day. Apple is introducing a pregnant man emoji, and you may be thinking, Victor, why does this matter? Why do you care if Apple is adding a pregnant man emoji? Because this is outright degeneracy, and this is the collective acceptance of a blatant lie. Biology is very simple. I was never a Harvard biologist, so pardon my ignorance on the topic, but it's relatively simple when it comes to XX versus XY chromosomes and which of a specific species, which gender that is of said species, can reproduce. And let me tell you a very, very straightforward biological fact. That is that the male cannot reproduce. Men in the human species cannot reproduce. It is not possible. And the reason this is important, right? You may say, oh, come on, it's their life. Let them live their life. Who's this affect? You know who this affects? How many 8-year-olds do you know who don't have a smartphone? How many 10-year-olds do you know who don't totally up and down know the entirety of the emoji keyboard? They all know it like the back of their hand. So whenever a 10-year-old or an 8-year-old or God forbid a 5 or a 6-year-old is flipping through their phone, right? They're scrolling down and they happen to come across this image of a pregnant man in their emojis. They say, Dad, Mom, what's this? And they show you an image of a pregnant man. And they say, how is that possible? And you have to look them in the eye, and you have one of two options. You can either lie to them, you can bend the knee to the collective delusion, you can spit in the face of biology, and you can tell your child, oh, that's a pregnant man, because not all pregnant people are women. Or you can get yourself canceled, maybe even have in 10 years, I don't know, this might be an offense so great that Child Protective Services comes after you. You can look your kid in the eye and you can say, listen, Johnny, biology is simple. There are some very delusional, confused people out there who desperately, these people need medical help. If you don't believe me, let's check out the teen attempted suicide rate of up to 41.8% of LGBTQ non-binary teenagers said that at some point in their life they have already attempted suicide. So Victor, why does it matter? Why does it matter that there's a pregnant man on the keyboard? Because I don't want the government schools that are somehow, for some reason, teaching our children all about sex ed. I don't want them. Imagine this. A kid raises his hand in the back of sex ed class and he says, Mrs. Johnson, how can a man get pregnant? And Mrs. Johnson tries to rationalize the idea that a man with a penis and testicles and no uterus, that man can somehow, some way, by some strange bastardization of biology, that man is going to get pregnant. Folks, it doesn't freaking happen. Stop accepting this delusion. Stop falling in to this massive herd mentality where, listen, if you fray from the bully, degenerate majority, if you get away, if you swim upstream on this one, you'll be canceled. Look what's going to happen to me, right? They've already tried to cancel me 5 million times. What's 5 million and one? I can tell you a basic biological truth, and that is men do not get pregnant, and these social issues matter. I'm sick and tired of modern day conservatives who prance around the subject and they try and act like, oh, that's something that we don't talk about. We only talk about fiscal policy. Oh, but socialism versus capitalism. Yeah, socialism, capitalism, that is a debate that needs to be had. Everybody knows and accepts that fiscal responsibility is a good thing. Capitalism, free markets, that's a good thing. But for some reason, this current generation of conservatives that are in the mainstream, they're so afraid to take on the mob. They're so afraid to take on this herd of people. This herd of people who wants to literally bully you into submission and demand that you accept as reality a blatant delusion. If they can convince you, if they can make you bend the knee on this topic, on something so obvious, something that is such a lie, if they can get you to encourage, promote, and support a blatant, ball-faced biological lie like the notion that men can somehow get pregnant and deliver a freaking child devoid of a uterus, if they can convince you and bully you into submission on this, I dare say there is nothing that they cannot bully you into submission on. If you allow them to throttle your speech, if you allow them to be the thought police, if you allow them to force your children into being so confused on simple, straightforward issues like this, there is nothing, there is no bridge too far. But folks, I'm telling you, for me, there's a bridge too far. And I don't care who knows that I'm not going to bend the knee to collective delusions. We have to, as a society, we have got to reject degeneracy and return to common sense and, Lord willing, a little bit of morality.